G'day everyone, my name is Rorz and today we're going to be breaking down the best Looksmaxxing products, starting from God tier and going all the way down to its god awful. Okay, first up we have the microneedling stamp. So a microneedling stamp can absolutely be very beneficial. It's regularly used to induce hair growth, usually in congruence with other factors such as Minoxidil. The best use cases here are for the hairline and the eyebrows, but you can also use it on your skin as well. I'd say this product is very versatile, you can't really go wrong with it. However, you'll definitely need to pair it with some form of disinfecting alcohol, because if you don't, this is where you're going to start to get infections. So just because it's so versatile, and a lot of these products are usually marked up a lot, you can get one of these on Amazon for at least $20. And if you're using Minoxidil and buy one of these, it's essentially another $20 to get twice the results. So I'm going to put this one into high ROI. Next up, we have a jaw trainer. So you guys are probably thinking of jawliner or any of those sort of products. This can easily be seen as a scam or something that doesn't work. However, for me personally, if you look at my jaw in the first image and in the second image, it is a night and day difference. And during this period, I was actually using a jaw trainer myself. So I can personally testify to the fact that this stuff actually works. It's extremely cheap if you get one from Amazon, which is what I recommend. They break fairly easily, but you can just order it again. Although I have to note that my jaw gains didn't come just from a jaw trainer. It comes from a lot more various factors, such as growing up, starting to lift weights and increase my testosterone, and just natural facial masculinization. So because this is so cheap and because the jaw is such an important feature of the face, I'm probably going to have to put this one into God tier. And you can sort of just train it like any sort of muscle in the gym. The more you hit it, the more it's going to grow. And it's very similar to calf raises and ab training. You can more or less hit it every second day. Next up, we have sunscreen, particularly 50 SPF. This is obviously mainly to protect yourself from the sun, avoid any sort of UV damage that ages the skin, depletes collagen, and makes your skin wrinkle over time. I know a lot of people are against sunscreen, however, I'm not one of them. Obviously, the ingredients are going to be incredibly unnatural, so I can see what the fuss is about. However, it does what it's meant to do, which is protect your skin and negate any sort of UV damage. So yes, there probably is an element of endocrine disrupting chemicals in there. I guess it's the price you have to pay. I'd say if you're in a country like Australia, especially in summer where the UV is very high, I'm talking 10 plus, and you're a European convict like I am, you're definitely going to be facing some skin battles here. So the use case is going to be really dependent, especially if you're using any sort of retinoids like Retinol or Tretinoin, even Hydroquinone. So it is more just disaster prevention rather than actually giving you a looks max. For aging, it's absolutely gold tier. Honestly, I would say just not going out into direct sunlight at all is probably a better ROI. But then again, you're going to be negating some form of vitamin D production. And I guess sure, you can supplement vitamin D, but it isn't the same as actually getting the sun itself. That being said though, if you clean up your diet, reduce your omega-6 production, you won't experience the sun's negative effects as much. So it has its use cases. So I'm going to put sunscreen into high ROI just simply because of the anti-aging effects. Next up, we have retinol serum. So this is essentially the dollar store version of Tretinoin. I mean, I guess it works. Is it going to transform your skin overnight? Probably not. I'm actually currently using Tretinoin myself and it's working like a charm, even at a low volume of 0.025%. Retinol is essentially the legal version that dealers are allowed to sell without it being prescription based. You can get Tretinoin in non-prescription form. That's something I actually break down in my school community, which you can check out with the link in the description below. But yeah, I would say overall, in terms of retinol serum, it's not going to change the game for you. It's a good entry point if you need to build up your skin's tolerance before you actually go to the granddaddy Tretinoin. So I'm going to put this one into decent. Next up, we have test booster supplements. I think you guys already know my opinion on this one. We're going to keep things clean and short. I find it extremely ironic that test booster supplements are actually more expensive than testosterone itself. I think that's enough said. However, I will go into detail as to why this stuff is so shit. Typically, test booster supplements use ingredients such as herbs to reduce cortisol levels, which is great. If you have high cortisol, chances are you're going to have low testosterone and you're going to be struggling to put on muscle in the first place. There are obviously many various ways around cortisol, not only supplements, but just daily lifestyle habits. Test boosters are honestly some of the biggest grifts I've ever seen. When you inject testosterone in of itself, it directly lowers cortisol levels. And by no means am I promoting any sort of steroids, but we got to be honest here. For a testosterone booster, that's usually a bunch of Kopi herbs, will probably sit you back at around $60 to $70 AUD, whereas a testosterone vial will probably sit you at around $50 to $60. With a testosterone booster, you're probably going to see about a 5 to 10% increase in your hormonal profile. And with injectable testosterone, you can probably guess the rest. So simply because you'll produce more testosterone by simply just sleeping an extra hour or having a better diet, I'm going to put this one into god awful. It's because usually the people who are actually going to use test boosters in the first place usually have a lot of stuff dialed in already and are just looking for that extra boost. And once you've already got everything dialed in, it's not going to give you much of a boost at all. Next up, we have sea salt spray. So this is mainly for hair. It's great for people with very flat hair that doesn't sort of have any texture. I have a little bit of experience with myself. However, it didn't really produce the greatest of results for me because my hair texture is already ideal. However, I have seen it produce pretty decent effects with guys who naturally have worse hair texture than I do. Hair is obviously going to be very important. If you don't have much going on and it kind of just sits there, it's flat, it's damp, it's not going to look good. So I'm going to put this one into decent. And to be honest with you, I'm not really a fan of stuff where you have to consistently do it or stay consistent with things. I think if you have to looks max and you have to do a full routine in the morning, such as using an eyebrow pen, putting contacts in, or fake tanning every few days, that's just like a full-time job in of itself. So for Looksmaxxing, it's really good to focus on the high impact permanent effects, because trust me, you're going to get sick of it eventually. Next up, we have Minoxidil. So like I mentioned previously, with with the microneedling device. It's extremely congruent with this. Minoxidil is amazing for producing hair growth. I actually have experienced it with myself. I have no recession, my eyebrows are great. However, I was testing it out on my beard and I did see noticeable effects over even the course of 4 weeks, which is really insane when you think about it. You will have to use this for over a year to make sure the hairs are actually permanent in of itself. However, the best use cases with minoxidil is usually going to be around the eyebrows and the hairline. As to be honest with you, I view beards as a little bit cope. I think stubbles look great, but a full beard, particularly on a white guy, doesn't always look the best in my opinion. However, African guys, Samoan guys, they look amazing with it. So it's really going to depend on your archetype. White guys can obviously pull it off as well. I'm speaking very generally here, of course, but at the end of the day, having a chiseled jawline instead of covering it up with a beard is typically going to be better. So beards are great in those times where you need to cover your jawline because you have some form of recession or your jawline is just weak in general. Take a look at Andrew Tate, for example. So just because minoxidil is so beneficial for a multitude of factors, I'm going to have to put this one into high ROI. Next up, we have a red light lamp. So first off, I want to say I get the idea and the goal. You're trying to produce collagen, benefit skin over time. However, you're actually going to experience more red light from the sun. But like I said before, with the sun, you might experience some form of UV damage. And with the red light lamp, it's not too much of an issue. I think for this, it's really going to depend on the strength of it at the end of the day. Most of the ones on Amazon are pretty low strength. And if you're looking for one that isn't cope and actually does something, you're probably going to be set back quite a bit of money. So I'm going to put this one into low ROI. Next up, we have Mastic gum. So I actually have used Mastic gum myself. I honestly prefer it less compared to a jaw trainer. And the reason for that is because when I was using Mastic gum, I got quite a bit of temporomandibular joint pain. And basically what this is the joint that attaches to the jaw itself. Because you're moving it around in your mouth, sort of like food, it's not in a controlled mechanism compared to a jaw trainer where it's fixed. A good analogy for this is that a jaw trainer is kind of like having your biceps in a fixed position on a bicep machine, feeling a tight squeeze on the muscle. And then Mastic gum sort of feels like doing alternating bicep curls while you're ego lifting the weight. It's a big difference. However, it's each to their own, sort of just like the gym. If you feel better tension with Mastic gum compared to a jaw trainer, I suppose that can work for you. However, it's going to be a lot more expensive, and at least in my experience, the results weren't as well produced. There was actually one point where I was using Mastic gum where I literally locked my jaw and I couldn't close it again. I'm just warning you. So I'm going to put this one into decent. Next up, we have a gua sha. So this is about level 1 in Looksmaxxing. The idea of it is that it's supposed to sharpen your jawline by promoting blood flow to the skin and the tissue itself. I'm afraid to admit that I actually went through this period myself around over a year ago. And well, yeah, I guess it relieves some form of tightness. I don't really know what the goal is with gua sha though. I mean, it's not very high ROI at all. I used to spend 5 minutes after a hot shower scraping my jawline and my cheekbones in front of the mirror, thinking it would do something. Not too sure what the mentality was there. With gua sha, I mean, it doesn't really do anything. So I'm going to put this one into low ROI, as a gua sha stone is very cheap. Next up, we have BB cream. So BB cream, also known as BBC, is a form of makeup known as blemish balm that is used to cover up, well, you guessed it, blemishes. I actually promoted it on an older video where I used to use it for videos. I don't actually use BB cream anymore, as my skin tone has lightened drastically since then, and I actually can't find any BB creams that are within my skin tone. They're usually always just a little bit darker than I want it to be. But with that being said, not really that I want to use it anymore. It typically produces pretty fake results. I don't think just clearing your skin naturally through mechanisms such as retinoids or Accutane or just fixing your diet is a lot better in the long run. Like I said previously, just applying anything to your skin or preparing yourself for the day, like an eyebrow pen, any form of makeup, contacts, it's high effort and it's temporary. My mindset with Looksmaxxing is that you want to get it done, not think about it, and you wake up looking like that every single day. So people with darker skin complexions, BB cream can definitely have its use cases. However, you may be called out for makeup, but personally what I would do is just dab it in places where your skin looks a little bit rough, such as the under eyes, or if you have any blemishes, of course. So I'm going to put this one into decent. Next up, we have eyebrow and eyelash dye. So first of all, I'm going to have to say this is probably the best one on this list. The majority of people have virtually invisible eyebrows. Eyebrows are criminally underrated for the eye area itself. And not to mention, you can apply this to your eyelashes as well, which is going to make your eye color pop, looking like a lighter color, and also just add dimension to your eyes itself. Sort of like a similar natural mechanism to eyeliner. The good thing about this is that it's semi-permanent. You can apply this on a bi-weekly basis and have phenomenal eyebrows for 2 weeks straight. I do suggest keeping a timer on and actually reminding yourself to do this, because it will fade slowly and you will eventually forget, and you won't even notice that it's fading. Trust me, anytime I skip the bi-weekly basis and I sort of forget to do it and I reapply it after the 3rd week, it's honestly a night and day difference, and I'm always shocked at how much more striking my eye area looks. And my eyebrows are black, so really think about that for a second. Imagine if you have brown or even blonde eyebrows. It is literally next level. So easily, I'm gonna have to put this one into God tier. Next up, we have Zyotape. So I'm pretty sure this one was made by the single biggest snake oil salesman of all time, known as Jester Patel. Fuck you if you're watching this for selling such a subhuman product. This is cope to the finest degree. If anyone believes in this shit, you need to be tested for room temperature IQ. I'm not even gonna bother debunking this. I'm sure you can use your brain to really understand why this is not going to work for you. So yeah, I'm gonna put this one into God awful. Next up, we have finasteride. So finasteride is a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor. It's going to block the DHT in your scalp. That means topically or orally. I would personally take this topically, as I know a lot of people have issues with their libido. So it does what it's meant to do. do, keep the hair on your head. So I guess that means another day worth living. So we'll put this one into God tier. And next up we have Testosterone. Same story for this one, but I may as well include it because it is a separate product. Pretty much what Testosterone is going to do is block even more DHT, but that also means a higher risk profile of side effects. So it's really just going to be dependent on your use case. If you're a level 1 Norwooding subhuman, finasteride is the trick. However, if the Norwood Reaper has you in a chokehold, I would go with dutasteride. So they're both going to go into God tier. Next up we have Hydroquinone. So I actually use Hydroquinone myself. Pretty much what this does is block all of the melanin in your skin from producing whilst you're applying it topically. It's great for Michael Jackson maxing, but in all seriousness, it does a phenomenal job of fading post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. So I'm actually using this in conjunction with Tretinoin, which we're going to get to soon, and the results that this will produce is unrivaled to anything else. I always preach prescription skincare over anything else. However, there's always downsides to anything. With Hydroquinone, if you use it for over a 3 to 4 month period, so let's just say 5 months for example, there's a possibility of receiving rebound pigmentation where you end up looking like a smurf. Very weird side effects, but it is something to note. The best use case for this is using it in cycles, so 3 months on, 3 months off. Also another thing as well, if you're using Hydroquinone and Tretinoin as well, you will need to be using sunscreen if you plan on getting any sort of sunlight. So Hydroquinone, it's got a decent use case. If you have a dormant suntan like I did and you want to get rid of it, it's great. I'm not going to comment on any other races, do what you will with that. So I'm going to put this one into decent as it has its use cases, but it's not going to be beneficial for everyone. And you can also find out how to use and source this with the link in the description within my school community. And on the topic of Make Me a Monger, if you want to get access to the community with limited time pricing before it reaches 100 members, you can check the first link in the description and get access to a full Looksmaxxing transformation system. The price and value is only going to continue to go up, so by joining now, you're going to receive a lot better of a deal in the long run. I look forward to seeing you inside and giving you some customized advice. Now, let's get back to the video. Next up, we have Tretinoin. So like I mentioned previously, Tretinoin has to go into God tier straight away. It's the single best topical retinoid for your skin. It's unparalleled completely, unless you're comparing it to Accutane or isotretinoin, which is going to fix your skin from the inside out, which actually means it's better in the long run. Obviously, it has its health impacts, but it works a lot better at shrinking the oil glands compared to Tretinoin. Tretinoin's use case is really good for using after isotretinoin, or if you have mild scarring, hyperpigmentation, or just a slight bit of acne. Next up, we have Keishami's Debloat. So I can definitely see the idea behind the supplement. I haven't done a lot of research into the ingredients that he actually used in the product. However, I can already guess it's probably going to be something like dandelion root or potassium, or just some form of electrolytes. I said the only time this is going to be beneficial in a real life scenario is when you have an exorbitant amount of fast food that had a lot of sodium in it and you're trying to debloat that out as quickly as possible. But to be completely honest with you, it's pretty useless and can be comparable to electrolytes or potassium capsules beyond trying to fix sodium bloat. What this is doing is treating the symptom, not the problem. The problem is going to be your god-awful diet. But let's be real, most people are grade A copers and just simply cannot resist grabbing the cookies at the pastry aisle. It's not a bad supplement at all. I'm not trying to rip Keishami at all here. However, it's not going to change the game or anything for you. So I'm going to put this one into decent. Next up, we have whitening strips. So this is a very cheap way to whiten your teeth. Whiter teeth is going to make you look more attractive, a lot less like a UK citizen, and it's pretty low effort and high ROI. I would say this is something that everyone should do at least once in their life. So I'm going to put this one into high ROI. Next up, we have contacts. So I'm actually using contacts myself for this video. The majority of times they will look uncanny. However, with people with the right coloring, and if it matches your undertones and your race vibe, then it will absolutely ascend you. A lot of people cope about eye color not being important. I would argue the opposite, but it is more or less the finishing touch to your face, but it can also anchor it as well. Naturally, I have hazel green eyes and I choose to wear blue as it's a lot higher contrast for my facial palette. What I would personally do for any guys who are Arab, light skin, or kind of in that brown skinned area, I would go for hazel or green. If you're a black guy, I'd probably go for something like a light hazel, and very rarely can you pull off green. Lewis Allen III is a good example. However, green contacts do tend to look pretty uncanny. And then finally blue for white guys like me. However, there are some light skins that can pull off the blue eye color, like Jeremy Meeks for example, so it's really worth just testing with. So I'm going to put this one into high ROI. That is if you're willing to face the neurotypicality if you're caught. Next up, we have eyebrow pens. So I guess this is in the category of makeup. It's pretty much an instant way of getting eyebrows if you don't have them. Eyebrows are easily one of the most important features on your face, probably the single most underrated one, like I mentioned before. So if you go from no eyebrows to actually having them, that's a massive boost. However, this is something you're going to have to do on a daily basis. And you guys already know my mindset and just wake up looking like Chad Thundercock. So I'd say, well, this is amazing, and I'll put it into high ROI. In all honesty, I think applying Minoxidil and microneedling your eyebrows is going to be a lot higher ROI in the long run, as it's your actual hairs that you're going to be getting. And then once you build up the hairs using microneedling and Minoxidil, you can simply just apply eyebrow dye as well, or even microblading, which is semi-permanent and lasts up to 1 to 2 years. So actually, when I think about it, I'm probably going to put this one down to decent. Next up, we have fake tan. So I also have a lot of experience with this as well. I grew up being insecure about how pale I was. Little did I know it was a strength when I discovered Looksmaxxing, but growing up in Australia, the ideal look is the surfer archetype, guys like Bailey Smith. So naturally, you're going to try and fit into whatever your environment is telling you is high SMV on a subconscious level. For me personally, fake tan was an absolute nightmare to apply. Leave it on for a little bit too long, you're gonna turn Indian. Leave it on for not long enough, it fades in a single day. This also caused a lot of irritation for me as well. I just didn't really enjoy the whole process. You have to apply it pretty much every 3 days, and it just feels dirty to have on, and you're gonna stain your bed sheets as well. Just an overall annoying process. My mates, the Harley twins, currently use it, and it works for them. However, they even admit themselves that they're gonna use melanotan too, and not only does it look more natural, it actually sticks, and they're gonna use that in the future. And I've actually used melanotan too myself, and I can testify as well that it actually works, and almost too much. So much so to the fact that my tan literally sat around for a year straight without any sun exposure. So just keep that in mind. So for fake tan, I'm gonna say this is low ROI, simply because the results that you produce is gonna be splotchy, it's gonna be very orange, and you're gonna look like Donald Trump. Next up, we have lip balm. So lip balm is amazing. I mean, I've used Accutane twice, so it's kind of a given now because my lips have permanently dried out. However, most people don't drink enough water, so you should do that first. It can make your lips look so much healthier in the long run. Doesn't cost much either. I just keep one in my pocket. It is a little bit annoying, but I've gotten used to it and I've been doing this for years. And simply what it does, it increases the redness of your lips, contributing to more facial contrast and just an overall healthier appearance with fuller lips. So lip balm is a very high ROI, so I'm gonna put it into high ROI. Next up, we have Lumify or eye whitening drops. Like I said, this is gonna be a little bit temporary. It's good to use on a day of filming or when you're going out to the club and you want to look your best. I personally don't use them. However, I can see the use case for them. Studies show that a whiter sclera is extremely attractive, perhaps even more attractive than the eye color itself, but that is very debatable. I'd say everyone can benefit from a whiter sclera, even if it's temporary. However, you'll probably receive some form of rebound redness if you use this. That's just the nature of the game. So I'm gonna say the ROI is pretty decent. Next up, we have mouth tape. So unlike Zyotape, this stuff actually works. It's not gonna give you chiseled cheekbones like Jester Patel says you'll get, but what it will do is just train you to breathe through your nose while you're sleeping. I actually use this myself, and I mentioned it in a video, and it certainly has its use case. Will it give you a chiseled jawline overnight? No, that's going to be your bone structure and most likely surgery, but it will prevent your bone structure from becoming recessed, as mouth breathing is what's going to cause that. So I'd say the ROI is high. You only have to do this for a little period of time, not forever. I did this for maybe a couple months, and it sort of became my baseline. If you can't breathe through your nose, it's probably due to something like a deviated septum, or the airways are blocked. So mouth tape, it won't kill you. You'll know this before you even fall asleep. Don't even worry about that. So I'm going to put this one into decent, as every human should just be simply able to breathe through their nose in the first place. Next up, we have Ketoconazole shampoo. So very similar to other mechanisms such as topicals on the hair. Not going to be as potent. I personally don't like using any sort of shampoos on my hair. It makes my hair very dry, flat, and just loses its life completely. Topical RU is going to be better in this case for your lab rat. As a rule of thumb, any local products that you see at the chemist can almost always be around the same price or even cheaper and be a lot more efficient in prescription form, or through a little bit of research. So we'll put this one into decent. It's about step one if you're receiving any sort of shedding or recession. Now we have Latisse. So Latisse is ideally used to grow the eyelashes. Sounds amazing, right? However, there are side effects, and the side effects include melting the fat around your eyes. Doesn't sound ideal, does it? Probably one of the worst side effects you could think of. Also, Latisse isn't permanent, so while you're applying it, you're depleting the fat pads around your face in the area that you're applying it to, usually the eyes. If this didn't have any side effects and it didn't melt any fat, I would honestly put this one into God tier, but because it does melt fat in your face, it's going to prematurely age you, and the fat around the eyes is something you really do not want to lose. I'm going to put this one into God awful, as you pretty much just shouldn't touch this at all. Next up, we have castor oil. So castor oil is pretty much step one where people are trying to grow their beard, their eyebrows, their hairline, whatever it may be. Pretty much what castor oil is going to do is take care of the hair that already exists. It's not going to grow new ones. I don't know what this mentality is coming from. Most people, from experience that I've talked to, are very high inhibition. It's ironic because they don't trust the products that actually work, but they'll gladly waste their money on shit that actually won't. Like I said, it's good for keeping the hair healthy, but if you want to actually gain new hair, which is what these people are looking for, you want to look into things such as microneedling and minoxidil. So enough said, I'm going to put this one into low ROI. Next up, we have Clearasil. So this is pretty much what your parents would have given you in high school when you started to get acne. I know that was personally the case for me. Ironically, applying this shit every single time I went into the shower caused more harm to me than good, even though I thought it was supposed to work, being a gullible 14-year-old. I guess this also falls under the umbrella of benzoyl peroxide, skin exfoliation in Clearasil form, or just any form of cleanser. You can find way better cleansers on the market. Cetaphil is great. Clearasil, not so much. In fact, exfoliating the skin too much is going to make your skin overcompensate and produce even more oil, which is what happened with me, even though it was supposed to be acne clearing. Sure, it clears away the oil, but then it just makes you produce even more oil. Instead of providing this shit, they should provide you with a diet plan. So we'll put this one into god awful. Not everyone's going to get clear skin just from fixing their diet, but as a rule of thumb, the majority of people are going to clear their skin from fixing their diet. If you don't, that's when you can get into things such as isotretinoin or Tretinoin. Now we have Cologne. So not a direct Looksmaxx, however, it's going to make you smell amazing. A signature fragrance is something that you identify with, something that you actually like the smell of, and you resonate a lot with. If you're a masculine guy, a musky, woody scent works amazing. If you're younger, something citrusy and lively can work well as well. This is just trial and error. I would go to a shop such as Palermo. We have these in Australia where you can actually smell the fragrances itself, as they're the off-brand versions, but basically duplicates. And then you can decide from there what what fragrance you want to buy. If you want to buy it from the store, online, whatever. But every single man should have a signature fragrance. So I'm going to put this one into high ROI. It's going to do a lot more for you than you think. Smelling good is truly massive around women, and smelling not good is also massive in not the right way. Now we have the Derminator 2. So the Derminator 2 is the final boss of microneedling. I personally would use this one on your skin and not the derma stamp if that's what you're trying to do. You can still resort to the derma stamp if you're trying to use it on your eyebrows or your hairline or anything in terms of hair. However, if you're looking to fix any sort of skin issues, the Derminator 2 is extremely precise, it's very safe, and it's electronically controlled. The results are faster because the needle stabs into your skin at a lot faster of a rate. You can actually control it as well. I personally have purchased this one. However, it's a bit annoying because you have to rebuy all the needles. So I think this is a great alternative for people who have a little bit extra income and are also looking for something that's like an at-home skin clinic. You could get sessions like this in dermatologists and things of that nature. However, it's going to set you back a lot more money in the long run. So if you're being financially smart, the Derminator 2 is good in a lot of ways. So I'm going to put this one into high ROI. That is, if you have the patience for it. Next up, we have the Philips One Blade Pro. So this is the absolute go-to for any of your sort of shaving duties. I highly recommend it. Before this, I used to use safety razors, the disposable razors, and I was having a very hard time with my skin because it is very sensitive, and I would almost always get nicks, cuts, and scratches after I would shave my skin. With the Philips One Blade Pro, that almost never happens unless I'm being incredibly reckless. However, the downsides to this is that it doesn't get the closest shave you can because that's on purpose so you don't nick the skin. So it's great for anyone with sensitive skin and doesn't really grow too much hair all the time. Or even for someone like me whose hair is very thick, who experience a lot of irritation, and you want something quick and easy. Another pro tip as well, I would pair this with shaving cream as well. I know it's an electric razor, however, it's great to use in conjunction. So I'm going to put this one into, I mean, for me at least, I think it's God tier. It's not going to be God tier for everyone, as not everyone gets a lot of shaving irritation. However, for me, and I know there's other people out there, it absolutely will be God tier for them. And finally, we have a neck training harness paired with neck training weights. So first, let's get into why you would actually train the neck in the first place. Let's look at this image here, and well, yeah, that's why. This is great for people who are starting out inside the gym. They haven't built up a good base of muscle yet. They want to look proportionate, and this is a great use case. However, you can honestly just place a plate on your face and do reps with it inside the gym, such as that. It's the exact same thing. You'll probably get the same amount of results. However, you do risk looking a little bit goofy. Personally, I didn't give a fuck, and I just sat there on the bench and did it myself. No one thought I was weird for it. Trust me, I've seen some middle-aged men do some even weirder and wackier shit. So it's good if you're high in ambition, and you do have more options with the neck training harness to go from side to side as well. So I'll probably put this one into decent. Alright, that wraps up the Looksmaxxing product tier list. Did I miss anything? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know. Mog your past self. I'll see you in the next one.